Man, I wish I had a drum roll on this soundboard right now because, ladies and gentlemen, we have an incredible show for you today. Throughout this whole endeavor of having all these guests on, I really wanted to have somebody who, for one, I've never met and has had a lot of different transitions in life, has taken one thing that they've been doing and had that fold into another thing and fold into another thing and blossom into this beautiful thing that they're doing right now. And I'm so excited because the guest that we have on today has done just that. He, man, if you check out his Instagram, he is such an incredible artist. His vision is, I just want to call it otherworldly. It's so artistically futuristic and so three-dimensional. And, it's funny because my girl and I were looking at his page. I was like, man, it looks so elegant. It looks so futuristic. It's got so much pop to it. And so, without further ado, I am honored to have our guest today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in Nick Bultman. There he is. Welcome to the show, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, man. Thank you so much for having me here. I can't wait to chat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And man, like I was telling the people, you have such an eye-catching visuals with your Instagram and the way that you create art. And when I had posted this story about you coming on, I had multiple people reaching out to me, like jumping for joy, just so excited to have you be a part of the show. So I just wanted to let you know you have people out there and they're rooting for you and they're excited to see you today.
That's amazing. Well, thank you to those people, and hopefully I can provide some value here and just be myself and see what happens.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And let's see. Gosh, we got so many people in the chat right now. They're jumping in. I just want to go ahead and let's just acknowledge some of them here. Endeavor, we see you out there. Thank you for joining us. Your boy B, salute. He's a fellow artist, and I know he's got some great questions for us. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. It looks like Tracy Ward is in the chat. Welcome in. We appreciate you. She is a fellow artist. So we have, yeah, you've got artists on artists in here. But for the people that don't know, go ahead and introduce yourself to the People Helping People audience.
Sure. I am I'm an artist right now. Before I was a professional artist, a full-time artist. I was just working a corporate job. I had the standard university route, very normal upbringing, childhood, everything was awesome. But I knew that there was something in my life that I was kind of missing in like the professional sense. And for the last 3 years, I've been doing full-time art, posting on social media, trying to go viral and trying to just push the limits of what I am able to create. And right now, that's the form of painting. I'm really into music, really into animation, really into all kinds of creative endeavors. And right now, painting is just what I'm into.
I love it. I
And
love it.
yeah, Arizona based, just like you, enjoying this summertime heat.
Yeah, we're just trying not to melt right now. It is scorching.
Yes,
And
it
I'm sure
is.
the people, I gotta, address the elephant in the room. I'm looking like a freaking hot tomato out here. I'm scorched to the bone. So, yeah. And then you said that you're in Arizona too. We're neighbors. So I was like, dude, yeah, epic.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great, man. And I want to dive into that because you said, as far as like creativity is concerned, you've had a lot of outlets in your life. And I kind of want to peel things back and go to you in your childhood or youth or whenever you started to find the creative outlet and kind of walk me through when you realized like this is something that I enjoy doing so much.
When I try to think back at kind of the earlier times, it was doing like stick figure animations.
Cool.
Do you remember like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, like the early YouTube eras where there'd be the stick figure fighting?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was like really into that. And there was like the stick figures over the cliffs and battling it out, launching arrows across, doing trampolines and explosions and stuff. And I was doing it in like the least technical way. I was just doing frame by frame, and I would get really like anal about the way the character's walking, the way he's speeding up, the way the explosion looks, and 10-year-old me, 15-year-old me, was just getting a kick out of it, doing it with my brothers. And, I guess that was kind of an indicator that that was just something I'm into. And it eventually took the form of, making music on like a little $10 iPhone app, on road trips, plugging away at these like really like amateur apps and whatnot. But I would just get so into it and just be so emotionally tuned in and like anal about all the little details. And so obviously like that would be pretty hard to have those feelings, but then go into like such a technical kind of businessy and engineering kind of approach to my career. And feel free to ask away all about that. But I think
Yeah.
that was kind of my early indications of kind of, oh, another one is like making videos. My brothers and I in the neighborhood, we do like scooter videos, and we go ride our BMX bikes to behind Target, and I'd make these little montages of them jumping, stitch it to some like punk rock music. I don't know, like that was just super fun for me.
Yeah, it's so crazy that you say that because not only those stick figures that you're talking about, so much nostalgia,
Yeah.
so much nostalgia, and I have not thought about that in so long. So you were creating those stick figures yourself. Now, were they actual flip books, or when you say you're animating those, like how were you creating them?
Yeah, with Adobe Flash MX, the program, as well as Pivot was another one. And then yeah, I would also take the notebook pads and do that too, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Rad. Yeah, I remember that so well. And it was there would be full-fledged like fighting scenes with blood shooting all over the place. I mean, it was like an epic battle, an epic adventure that people were making with these stick figures. And it also brought me back to I don't know if you remember like Joe Cartoon. Have you ever heard of that?
I've probably come across him, but
Okay.
not
All
off the
right.
top
It
of
was the most crass, awful cartoon thing, but it was like middle school, you know. I'm mid 30s, so maybe I'm dating myself, but yeah. Anyways, that brought me back into that realm that I haven't thought about for a long time, so thank you for sharing that. But I'm
yeah.
curious like were you surrounded by artistic people? Like did you have creativity around you or is it just something you were born with?
That's funny. I've kind of realized talking to people, fellow artists, like I had kind of an abnormal environment artistically. There was probably one person in my entire family, my grandpa Bob, who was doing something creative as like a profession.
Hmm.
Um, Now, I use the word creativity pretty loosely, to be honest. I'm more of just saying, hey, because he was a woodworker, so he's working with his hands, making things. So he was an artisan, kind of like that's how I see myself as well. Everyone else in my family, sales, engineering, nursing, kind of just business, finance,
Very cool.
great skills to have,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
very
So
different.
right, yeah. So you were kind of I mean, you saw your grandfather doing what he did, maybe not firsthand, but just knowing that, you know, he did have some artistic skills in him and he was into that.
Yeah.
But so you're kind of a lone soldier on this island and paving your own way and figuring out the things that you like to do. And I want to dive into the music aspect too, because I have been producing and creating music for over 20 years. And you know, to hear you say that you just would use these little janky apps and create stuff, what did that were you like looping things or were you recording hip hop or what was the early stages of creation?
Oh man, it was. I think the first app I downloaded was called Fingerbeat. It was an
Cool.
iOS app, $10, and it would just be a bunch of colorful dots coming down. It's like 16th, tempo sections, and you just fill in the dots. You change the instruments. Really simple stuff. And then I graduated to Nano Studio, a $14 app.
Yeah.
And this is nothing like Ableton or Fruity Loops or the big softwares I'm sure you're familiar with.
Mm.
But I would start sampling these really interesting melodic choir sounds and maybe like Game Boy sounds like Link, you know,
Cool.
and I would just put some nasty trap bass on there. It's all on SoundCloud, so if anyone wants to find it, it's just type in Bultman.
Nice. I love that. Oh, please don't look up my SoundCloud. It's the stuff I used to make. Oh boy.
I know what I'm doing tonight.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you could go check it. I mean, if you really want to, I don't even remember what I went by, but yeah, the old SoundCloud stuff for me was like me figuring things out, right? And so there, like I do hip hop, I do rock, I do ballads. You know, I've produced for musicals before, and so it's like this whole crazy melting pot of genres.
Yeah.
But back then, it was like figuring out what my voice was. And so I would just like be trying to rap, you know, super deep and just like really cringy stuff. But it's out there. It's out there. You
Same
guys
dude.
can
I
find
even
it.
I got my roommate to rap on a beat once, and it's private for a reason.
Yeah. 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 Maybe I shouldn't put that into the world. But real quick, we have some people in here that are showing some love. Let's see. Endeavor, we see you. Thank you for all the comments. Your boy B says, dude, your work is incredible.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah. Thank you for that comment, your boy B. And he also says, just hearing about you and seeing your work, I was blown away. Nice. Very nice. Thank you for that, your boy B. Appreciate that. And yeah, so you were dabbling in some music, you were putting some things on SoundCloud, and then you shifted into a corporate lifestyle. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I was the kid who very much wanted to do the right thing in life, and I had parents who very much set me up for that. It was expected to get good grades. It was expected to be involved in sports and excelling in sports. And I'm really thankful for that now because I really do treat my art almost as a sport where
mm,
um, there's always a process and a result, and you're always trying to improve. And I'm really thankful that that process was instilled in me.
oh,
But
love
of
that.
course, so I studied it's called industrial technology at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Really awesome school, 10 minutes from the beach. I mean, dream college experience, honestly. And it was like a hybrid between business and engineering, which is kind of what I'm doing now, which is
Mm,
cool. It's like I'm testing all these materials. I'm applying like almost like the scientific method to like when I'm in the garage, you know, and I'm talking to myself through like the steps of things. And then there's the business of creating a career online through my own thing. But before I did all that, I did the thing out of college. I was in like a manufacturing rotation program where I was like doing supervising on a floor. I was doing manufacturing engineering where I was like improving processes and doing quality engineering and like things that sounded really good on paper and paid really well. And I because my major was that, then that was the logical next step to be in.
mm,
And I was actually at the most depressed of my life straight out of college going into those roles. And, saw therapists, got prescribed antidepressants, Xanax, and, had panic attacks at work and had to pop the
mm,
pill. And that would be the only way to really quell the anxieties I was having at that time. So something was wrong. My body was telling me like, you're in the wrong thing. Something's not working here,
mm.
especially going from like the exciting college to like, middle of nowhere Pennsylvania for a year, middle of nowhere Kentucky for a year, cashing out, making good money, doing the thing I was supposed to do, but I was completely unhappy. Luckily, they let me transition into a sales role where I could at least be more like socially creative, and very thankful for them for letting me do that. Got to work with a bunch of new college grads, and finally I felt like, okay, this is cool. This is more my speed. I was in Nashville and did that for basically a year and a half, got promoted. That's what brought me out to Arizona in the first place. I was their territory sales engineer, going to different distribution centers, talking to their people and updating them on stuff and quoting projects. And it still just did not feel like what I wanted to do. I knew that there was a part of me that was not being utilized. I'd come home really emotional, and my wife, after 5, 10 times, is like, you know what, Nick, maybe you should consider like you've got the money, you're in your mid 20s, consider pivoting into something because this is the time to experiment. It's not as cute when you're in your 30s, right? So I did. I actually quit, and I ended up finding like a software sales role where I was like, oh, maybe it's the product that I'm selling is the issue because I like talking to people. I'm decent at sales. Let me try the product. And then COVID happens, and then the mass layoffs happen, and then I get demoted because I wasn't actually hitting my numbers. And I'm like coming from an athlete world of uh, succeeding and trying to improve, and then you're pushing and it doesn't work out. It sucks and it was hard. And so I found a different product that I like, did that for a year or two, got not demoted, but I got laid off because we got acquired, and all these things just kept happening. And it was like I'm used to like progressing, and this felt like I was regressing. So at the last job I worked, I was pretty much just, we can get into the story of the art if you want, but let me just pause if you have any questions or you want to dive
Yeah,
in.
no, no, no. That's great. There's so many amazing things that you just said that I'd like to unpack.
Sure.
Getting into sports and being an athlete. And what sports did you play?
I did track and field, so I did throwing, shot put, discus, hammer throw.
Oh, nice. Okay. Strong. That takes
Yeah.
some strength right there.
Yeah, and I was like the smallest guy out there too. I just had good technique. My dad was full scholarship UCLA, almost went to the Olympics, so it's like it's in our family. My two little brothers did the same thing, so it was cool.
That is really cool. And yeah, and the fact that that gave you the building blocks of this disciplined mindset. And I think that that's so important for a lot of people to understand that finding something that does give you that, whether it be sports, whether it be, you can even do that as an adult too. Go out and find some kind of community where you have other people striving for a common goal together. I think that that's really cool that that parlayed into what you're doing now and through your career. And you've always kind of had that in the back of your head as an athlete and that thought process and that stuck with you. I really enjoy. Thank you for sharing that because that's again, I like to advocate for that for anyone to if you have kids or whatever it is, to instill those things at a young age because they do stick with you forever.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I definitely plan to raise my kids in a way where they're involved in sports. I will say I want to involve them in more like team sports. I felt like a lot of my life was kind of that individual progression. And
Mhm.
I'm even hitting roadblocks in my art career now where I'm like resistant to working with people or really anal about something and unable to allow someone into my creative process. And I'm seeing how that's holding me back.
Yeah.
So, but I agree, athletics are huge just for like being able to push past what you thought was possible and level up in all aspects of life, business, creative, everything.
Well said. That's for you. Landed that plane. Great job. And gosh, yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's a great little piece of wisdom for the people. And before we get into the art aspect of things, because so many people are asking about art right now, I do want to talk about that pivot, right? So you had, and also, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead because there was another important thing that I wanted to touch on. So you're having these panic attacks basically, and the only way to like calm yourself was through medication. When they gave you a different role where it was more communicative and you were on the road, did that mitigate those feelings or was it something that happened over time or walk me through that?
Yeah, I was basically involved in like really important stuff at work where I had to pitch to management the justification of like a $750,000 piece of equipment.
Mm.
And luckily, I was working with a guy who's like an actual engineer. I was kind of the development intern guy, whatever. Um, and just sitting around with 15 of the executives and trying to act like I know what's best for their manufacturing plant just put me in like an existential crisis of what am I doing here? I don't know this. And anytime I would try to like ask big picture questions or whatever, it was like, it wasn't the place for that. And I
Mm.
just had so many internal feelings, so much resistance. I would see my colleagues be so much better at what they're doing and seem to like it more. And I consider myself to be like a high performing person. Something is wrong.
Mm.
And so, yes, Xanax, I only took it like 5 times, but that was what I needed to like get through those like serious moments where I was about to have a panic attack and run out the door type thing that
Yeah.
would just keep me level and numb. And so, yes, being on the road, talking to people in like a more creatively social way, that 100% got me out of that environment.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, as human beings, we are resilient. And sometimes the world is really putting all of the lessons that you need to learn right in front of you. And to run from those lessons, they're going to continue to stack up until you learn them. And it sounds like you had exactly that. There was all this outside noise until you found that, okay, if I need to break away from this, I need to move on, I need to evolve, or just find another lane. And yeah, kudos on that, because
Yeah.
not everybody can get through that.
Yeah, and look, I was 22 at the time. Is medication the preferred choice? It might be for some people. I didn't think it was for me at the time, but I literally needed it. It was that serious.
Mm,
And I've gotten more into breath work, more into journaling. I mean, journaling's huge for me. If I'm like angry at someone or whatever, I start journaling. It keeps things so big picture. If I'm having negative self-talk in the garage, when I'm in the studio, when I'm super hard on myself, I've noticed that recently, how much just treating yourself with compassion like helps your art, helps your mindset, helps the way you treat people.
mm,
Uh, and you're right, like life's just constantly giving you signals, and it's like a fork in the road. Do you choose to let that dragon in the closet grow bigger, or do you choose to like take it out when it's small?
mm. Yeah, well said. Thank you for sharing that, man. And I know that can be a sensitive topic. And I think that, we're building up to where you're at today and getting an idea of just being an everyday person and having struggles just like everybody else. And success is not something that is, it's not something that not everybody falls into or can fathom what it feels like to find a calling or a purpose. But I want to advocate for anybody and everybody to try new things, no matter what. And if they're feeling those feelings of tension in the world, to be able to pivot, to be able to say, you know what, this isn't for me anymore, even though sometimes it is your whole world and it needs to crumble before you can rebuild. So yeah, and I'd like to dive into, the pivot that you made from going into the corporate world, where you're like, man, there is more for me. There is something that's yearning to be let out. When did that pivot happen into creating the art empire that you have today?
Yeah, great question. That is basically what would happen is I'd be at work, and I would be, I guess the genesis of it is like I saw this guy online. Shout out to BR Turner Art. He does fluid art painting 5 years ago, and he would do these cut pours. It'd be like a spine formation, and he would tilt it, and it'd just be this colorful, beautiful, interesting thing. And I'm like, I want to try that. So I go to Michael's, my local craft store. I buy some paint, and of course, fail completely miserably. If anyone, it's actually so funny. I made this video of my exact first attempts ever doing fluid art. I recorded it just because it's part of my process to record and learn that way. And I put like a narration on it, like 3 minute video. Go on my YouTube, Nick Bultman Art, and watch that. If you really want to see like the exact starting point of where I was to where I am now, and it is like so vulnerable for me to share, but like the most humbling, cool thing ever.
Mm,
Um, anyway,
I love
and I'd be doing that, and I'd be posting on TikTok, and getting 1,000 views, 500 views, whatever. I get a few comments every now and then, but I just enjoyed making it, and it was fun, and I was like learning these techniques. I'd be spending all this money at Home Depot and Lowe's on like paint additives and pillow paint and canvases, yada yada. And this is month one. I just get obsessive about certain things, and this was my obsession. And when I'm working my job, I'm thinking only about this. I'm thinking of, oh, there's this cool new technique I want to try, or and I'll be literally on calls, and I'll just be like scrolling my phone, and it's just, I was obsessed, and I was like, that's cool that I'm obsessed, whatever, who knows what that'll turn into. And I just kept posting online, and I took it really seriously. Like I wanted to make these engaging videos that people followed along the ride for. My little brother Noah told me one time, he's like, dude, I love the way you do your videos because it makes me feel like I'm painting with you. And that
Ooh, I
kind of
like
stuck
that.
with me. And I love making videos that put people into that frame.
Mm,
And So, do that for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. And eventually I had like a viral video. It got like 3 million views on Instagram overnight. And it was just me doing a dustpan pour in my messy garage over this like trash canvas. And all of a sudden overnight, I get 5,000 followers.
Wow.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
No way. It was the most crazy feeling. And just watching the numbers go 99, 99, 99, waking up, refreshing. It's a little unhealthy because like I ignore everything else in life. Like I'm living on a high, but I'm like, this is priority right now.
Right. Yeah.
And so yeah, and just doing that was like another signal in life, that is
Mhm.
signaling to me that this is something. This is something.
Yeah.
And
That's amazing.
it wasn't, and I did that for like a year and a half, basically, still working this, I think a year, still working the same job. Really, I shouldn't have been working, to be honest. I should have been really diving into my art at that time because I wasn't mentally giving all to my job, not giving all to my art. But really, it was getting acquired. Our company got acquired and they had to do mandatory layoffs. I was one of the 10%. That was my signal to be like, okay, I'm going full time now.
Mm.
That was like 2.5 years ago.
I love that, man. I love that. And I just can imagine because you're obsessing over this thing, you're obsessing over the art, and it is something that was new to you. And you're spending all this money and time and you have one foot in, one foot out type of a situation. And I think a lot of people go through that with their passions versus what's feeding them. But for you to have that one little spark, that one little pop that said, "Oh man, there might be something here. There could be revenue in there. I could eat from my passion." And we have some great questions coming in right now. Linda Hayes, hello, Linda, welcome in. Gosh, we love you. Thank you for joining us. She says, "Do you spend more time in content creation or your fine art production?" That's a great question.
She said, "Do you enjoy the content?" Am I reading the right
Lin-
one? Oh, that's the
it's
earlier
up
one.
top.
Do you spend more time in content creation or your fine art production? That's a great question, Linda. And what's funny is like there's so much more too. It's going to the print shop. There's all these things I'm doing. But if you had to compare the actual painting or the actual content creation, these days it's way more painting. But there are 100% times where I am like way more on content creation, engaging with my community, formatting pictures for my website, making sure my website shipping settings are all correct. So it can be 50-50, it can be 10-90. It really just depends. But right now I'm doing a lot of painting, which feels good.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that question, Linda. That is a great question. And I have to kind of piggyback on that because when you're first starting, if somebody is out there and they're an aspiring artist, would you say that they should focus more on the content creation and just putting things out and just hoping that maybe there will be a spark? Or what are your words of wisdom for somebody that's looking to start doing something with their art?
I would say I think different things work for different people. Different energies, different intentions work better for certain people. There's some approach where you just be very vulnerable online. You don't care about the way you format things. You don't give a lot of attention to the lighting, the formatting of your captions, when you're posting, how often you're posting, yada, yada. And that works for some people. I think the algorithm's actually pushing that these days in a world where like brand trust with these mega corporations is at an all-time low. People want to feel human connected, especially in this AI world. So that's recently been working for a lot of people. And it's almost made me consider like, damn, do I need to do more of that kind of stuff? And that's kind of like what this podcast is for me right now. I'm
Yeah.
not just a bunch of pretty pictures online. Like there's a person, there's a soul, there's a story behind it. And that's what it is. But I've noticed if what gives me views, what gives me engagement is if I can make the most engaging possible video by having the best possible art, by understanding that people's attention span is you have to earn it. You have to hook them in, you have to keep the process intriguing enough for them to want to watch till the end, share with their friends, etc. And that's just the game you have to play if you want to get views. So it's
Yeah.
important. It's part of
Yeah.
the business.
Well said, and thank you for sharing that because I think that with someone who has cracked the code and is having an engaged audience and getting views, it's really important for people that are just starting out to hear these things from the horse's mouth, not only from the inception of somebody who's utilizing their background in sports to have that parlay and play a role in their everyday life, but realizing that engagement and keeping people's attention is really tough. For one, like you said, you have to earn it, but gosh, it just seems as though that is such a fleeting thing. And consistency, like what does your consistency look like? Like do you have a schedule for it, or?
I don't have a schedule at all. I release work when I'm proud of the work, and then I have like 3 or 4 pieces of content that comes from that work.
Mhm.
The teaser, the full process, maybe the tutorial slash narration, the front view pictures, and then I cross post it to every single platform: YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, even Reddit.
Wow.
And that works really well because you
Cool.
never know what pops up. I had 5K subs on YouTube for 3 years. All of a sudden, I reposted 2 of my best works. I'm at 150K subs. They got 45 million views.
Wow.
So be okay with reposting too. People that like, if you have something crazy, awesome to share, you can repost it every now and then. That's okay.
Hmm.
I need to take my own advice. Like I need to repost Arsenal, my favorite piece in the living room. I've only posted it once.
Yeah, I love that. And Hannah Kovac, she's in the house. She says, "Good evening from Oregon. Welcome in. We give you one of those. We appreciate you being here." Let's see. Linda Hayes says, "Do you enjoy the content creation and self promotion aspect, or just see it as a necessary part of the business of art, like doing taxes?" Ooh, great question, Linda.
Yep, that is a very good question. I enjoy putting together a video that is kind of art itself because I'm structuring it in a way that keeps people's attention, and I'm trying to show the best angles of my artwork, and I'm trying to portray almost like I'm doing a magic trick. I'm not showing 50 hours of masking and airbrushing. I'm showing me snapping my fingers and capturing people's imagination. So for me, it's kind of fun, and I know that not everyone feels that way. People, and I have my own issues with this too. I hate reposting work. It clearly works, but I hate doing it. I hate saying, "Hey, for sale." It makes me feel like I'm just like wanting money or something. But
Mhm.
like, it's part of it. It is necessary. The making the videos, that's the art. But yes, there's like the self promo aspect that is kind of droll. But plug in some music, just get quick at it and get repetitive and check that box for the day.
Yeah.
It just depends on what I'm doing, I guess, is my answer.
Yeah, great question, Linda. Great answer as well. Your boy B is out here. Salute to your boy B, fellow artist, and he heard about our chapter 2 of people helping people to give back, and he's sending us some pieces to auction off at the end of the give back. And that's what's amazing about this. Kayla's going to be doing that, and it's just like having all these people come together for a cause is really incredible. And so, your boy B, we're gonna get to your questions here because we appreciate you, man. He says, from your own perspective, what inspires you to create this one of a kind art? Sorry, I'm having troubles reading that.
Yeah, I'm seeing the question.
To create this one of a kind artwork.
Yeah, from my own perspective, what inspired me to create this one of a kind artwork? I would say um, I'm really inspired by like really otherworldly, surrealistic environments with a ton of depth and energy and movement and color and power. And I want something on a wall that is just like grabbing your attention and just commanding to be seen. I don't want something that just kind of blends in. I want it to be like like I don't know. So I mean, that I guess like that's what inspired. I want to make the work that I want to exist in the world, and that process of creation and putting it out there is just really fulfilling for me. I can't explain why, but those are maybe like the things that I look for in artwork, and that's what I'm really into.
I love that. I love that. Great question, your boy B. Thank you for that. Rich is in the house. Welcome in, Rich. We see you out there. He says, "Good evening. Sorry I'm late. Power's still out." Yeah, we got some crazy storms. Is it storming up there too?
Oh, up here in Arizona, it is not yet. No,
No, okay.
I'd like
Yeah.
some though. I love when it monsoons.
No, me too. It is my all-time favorite. Let's see. Toga in the house. We see you. Tracy Ward says TikTok was the biggest connection? Question mark.
I started out doing TikTok just because I thought that's what you were supposed to do. I was cross posting to YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram as well. And TikTok was just giving me the most views at the time, the most engagement. But eventually, Instagram started doing that, and then TikTok was really down. Platforms give different things at different times. They change their algorithms constantly. For me, it's just you might as well cross post to everything. There's very little extra effort, very little extra reformatting of the content anyway. So you might as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And behind you, that is that one of your pieces right there?
This is a piece that I'm like working on. It's been like this for like 3 months now, and I'm debating what to add to it. I've got a bunch of other finished pieces like next to me. I was gonna like add them on as as the time went on too.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's see some more. I love that. Your boy B, he asked, what sparks the imagination of your pieces? Thoughts, emotions, settings? What technique do you use? Oh, sorry, that's a bunch of questions. So, what sparks the imagination of your pieces?
Um, I would say what sparks the imagination is,
That's a great question, your boy B.
yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, what's funny is like I'm more of like a even when I'm talking to people, like I'm like a think out loud type person. I feel like very rarely am I like internalizing and then like this is the answer, this is the right thing.
Mhm.
It's almost like I'm trying to like conjure a feeling within me, I guess, but it's rarely like a thought. And also like I do a lot of digital design, so like I'm on the iPad constantly, you know, building different worlds in layers.
Ooh,
And so that process of doing the digital design where nothing is painted yet, it's just I'm able to, digitally do things. It allows me to envision as time goes on. And what's funny is I don't really show that process on my Instagram very much. Uh,
interesting.
I'm slowly getting into doing that more, but that is such a huge key part of my artwork that a lot of people aren't aware of is using digital tools to build layers and environments and worlds before I apply that to the canvas. And I'll spend weeks sometimes before I come up with a design that's worth painting, because if you get something really cool down, last thing you want to do is like, ruin it. You want to like meticulously build that world if you have something cool.
Really interesting. So yeah, that's become a part of your process. And I guess that brings me to I want to know like I want to know as far as you beginning these phases of your art journey, if you could go back and tell your younger self when you first started art, what words of advice would you give yourself?
I would say, I would say that that's a good question. I would say that it's okay to fail, and it's okay to spend money on materials, even though that you feel like you wasted in the moment if things don't end up working out, or this fluid technique that you're working on didn't end up going the way you wanted it to. Just giving yourself the space to be like, okay, this is part of the process. I am learning here. This money that I invested into materials that feel wasted is actually me learning, and I know to do different things next time. Take notes, take that opportunity to move on. And that's what I would tell myself, because I feel like for so like long of my art career I've kind of been like in the garage talking to myself as if I was like a coach rather than like my cheerleader. And a lot of that's like a little more hard on myself versus like, you know, encouraging myself. So
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
probably what I would say.
Yeah. No, that's really great advice. And I think, that's kind of a recurring segment on this show is for one to give yourself grace. We talk about that a lot. And I think as creatives, I can relate and empathize with that so much because, when I'm creating art or doing video production or whatever it is, nothing is ever complete in my mind until I physically give up. It's like I quit. This is what the world is going to get. But one of the most fulfilling things that I've ever done or experienced is when I do quote unquote quit and put it out into the world. And my slate is clean. I can move on to the next thing. There's something to be said about just, for me, it's I want to say giving up, but to move on to the next thing and say that this is complete, even though I could sit there for another 30 days, 8 hours a day, and critique. But just moving on and knowing that those lessons that I learned along the way can parlay into the next, into the next, into the next, and keep sharpening that blade.
Yeah, that's so huge because I totally relate to that, as well as sometimes I can get obsessive where I'll obsess about one little fine detail. And of course, that detail in the grand scheme isn't even something that other people are going to notice. In a year's time where you see that piece, you're going to be like, why did I spend 10 hours on that? That's
Yeah.
so insignificant. I could have spent that time moving on to bigger and better things. And that's so much of my creative process now. I've got like 5 unfinished pieces, and they get finished at different times because the right thing is needed at different times, and that's okay. And I'm just becoming okay with learning about myself through this too. It's really cool.
That is really cool. Yeah. Yeah. And thank you to everybody that's jumping in. If anybody doesn't know, this is a live show. Be a part of the conversation. Ask us some questions. Give us some comments, some feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Your boy B also asks, what techniques do you use? Sorry, I don't have my glasses on, so I'm struggling. What tech, what techniques do you use? Types of paint, etc.
I use only acrylic paint. I've been adding some pouring mediums and some water a lot of the time just to make it as fluid as I need it to be able to throw the paint, to scrape the paint, to dust pan the paint, um, to make these big swashes across the canvas. It's got to be the right viscosity. But yeah, all acrylic for now. I'm a little scared of oil, and acrylic dry is nice, so I can do a lot of masking as well.
Yeah.
Um, what kind of techniques? I call it like velocity painting, which shout out to Andrew Norris. He kind of came up with that on our last podcast, actually. But it's maybe more classically um, heard as abstract expressionism or action painting.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Great question, your boy B. Thank you. And, just out of my own curiosity, I see just in your Instagram alone the evolution, right? Because it did start with the paint pouring, and then you start to see a little bit of depth being added.
Yeah.
And the depth turns into sharp lines and strategically placed colors in a lot more. It really reminds me of like architecture, like you're building buildings within this painting, and it's so eye-catching. But I want to talk about that evolution
Yeah.
when you started to incorporate more depth and when that evolved into these really strong colors that are very, very poppy.
Mhm. Yeah, I after the fluid art stuff, which was fun and awesome and cool, and I really tried to like bring cohesiveness and structure to that chaos too.
Mhm.
Um, I just kept leveling up in terms of bringing some more concepts to my paint, whether it was like having an object touch the ground or having like a space in the background, like a galaxy, or just having depth. And I was not traditionally trained at all. So I'm learning, like, I didn't know like what value meant. Like, value is like 70% of it. It's like the range between black and white just to form your environment. And then you can just transparently put transparent paint over this value, and now you have a painting. It's like these are
Mhm.
things that you learn in art school, I'm sure, that I just kind of am like figuring out as time goes on, finding the words for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like the digital tools really helped with that too, because I can kind of think of my paintings in layers. I could build these awesome renders. I'm super inspired by other artists' work too. Artists that are just able to move paint in ways and get really crazy formations, and that's really inspiring to see too. And there's even times in my early career where I would like shamelessly like try to just, I see something, I'm like, I gotta try that exact thing, and then I would do it. And through that process, I'd completely fail, but I'd be like, oh, I learned so much while doing that, and now I've incorporated that into my own style.
I love that. Yeah. And can you name some of the artists that you draw inspiration from?
Yeah, I would say Bobby Cruz is a big one. I just love his style of movement and the way he just does these really crazy feathering and like geometric, like desert landscapey type vibe. Oliver Vernon is probably my favorite artist of all time at the moment. I would love to have an original by him just in my living room. I swear, he makes like what like AI's best painting is what he was making like 10 years ago. Like,
Wow.
but that's me. It's my subjective opinion.
Yeah.
I would love to have some of his work.
Yeah.
But then some of the crazy, like, graffiti artists like Helio Bray, Digital Does, just they're so meticulous and structured, and they take a lot of controlled chaos in the way that they do their work. And I resonate with that.
I love that. I love that. And it brings me into like, if I was the inspiring aspiring artist, I would want to know, the business side of things as well, because you start creating art, and I just wonder how you would price your artwork. Like when you're starting out, how do you say, okay, this is worth, $5 or 5,000? Like, how does that come to you?
Yeah, I mean, price is what people are willing to pay.
Mhm.
Short and sweet, but ultimately you can command higher prices when you are a sold out artist that's in demand. And ultimately, I had a very just standard organic journey of selling $20 paintings to my friends and family. Eventually, I sold like $100 one to like my good friend Cody and my good friend Brandon. And at the time, they were like, $100? I'm not paying that for my friends' paintings. Now they both have it framed and like proudly displayed in their living rooms, and it's like the coolest thing.
That
Uh,
is cool.
and they joke all the time that it's worth like 10 times that now, and it's just
Yeah, right. They made out well.
yeah. And then $500, and then $1,000, and then 2,000, and then even 10,000 through
Yeah.
the gallery in London that I was working with.
Wow.
And pricing is obviously dictated by market conditions and demand and all that. And so you have to be, ideally, you want to be a sold out artist where you have no pieces available. There's a big waiting list. And so you sometimes have to be flexible with, letting pieces go for lower than you might think they're worth or expecting, just in order to have that perception, at least, of someone like, we want this art because we can't have it. People want what they can't have. It's like marketing.
Yeah. Wow. That's really interesting, just kind of the slow roll of starting with your family and friends. And I believe with what you're saying is like it's a supply and demand type thing. So if you're blowing up on TikTok and you have X amount of pieces, then I'm sure that you're getting messages where people are offering to purchase specific pieces, which kind of change your mindset of where your pricing could be. And then that changes over time depending on how much you're actually producing. And I'm sure it's an ever evolving endeavor.
Absolutely. Yeah, it totally is. It's not a static thing.
Hmm.
The beautiful thing is like past collectors that own like one or two of your works, and you have this relationship, and they're like, like, I fell in love with this piece. I have to have it. What's the price? I mean, it's just like the coolest thing ever. But like, I know about their lives, they know about mine, and I'm just excited about that. And so, like, when I make work, I make sure that I'm using the best possible paints. I'm making sure I'm protecting it. I'm making sure the canvases are straight and flat because my soul is in these people's homes and collections, and I'm not gonna like let that damper their experience.
I love that. Gosh, man. Yeah. And I want to know if you have a brand of canvas that you go to. And then I also want to talk about you. Um, you're trying to protect these pieces of art as best as you can. So I guess those two things, after a piece of art is done, what are you protecting it with?
Yeah, so there's a lot of schools of thought about this. I've talked to other artists. So when you varnish a piece, usually varnish over time can turn yellow. So what you want to do is apply an isolation coat between the painting and the varnish. The isolation coat doesn't turn yellow, but it allows for a hard barrier to where the top varnish layer, which inevitably could turn yellow, can be wiped off over time. This is actually something I've recently started incorporating. I've learned about this. And this is also why some artists who paint in acrylic don't even varnish their work at all, because the paint is usually pretty light fast. It's level one light fast, most of the paints, meaning it's like very resistant to UV. And if varnish is going to yellow anyway, and you don't want to do an isolation coat, like you might as well not varnish it too. So I like to work with my clients, explain these options to them, and they still usually want the varnish because it actually protects from like scuffing at least.
Mm.
Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, varnish is a whole thing. It's a whole thing, and a lot of schools have thought on it.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and I hope for all the artists that are watching, you're taking some notes and getting some nuggets from this conversation. But that brings me into your actual canvas choice. So, do you have a specific brand when you're searching for canvases, or do you bounce around, or what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, most of my canvases are just like from Michaels. They're the level 3 heavy duty artist loft canvases. They seem really robust and they come very straight. They're pretty affordable, high quality enough to where I can have a ton of them to practice on. If I'm really trying to level up, I'll use like linen from Jerry's Artorama. It's like, $200 canvas for even like a 36 by 48. And that just is a little bit smoother. It's like really nice material. But usually I like the canvases from Michaels because you can apply like scalpel blades into them without them ripping
Oh,
because that
cool.
canvas is a little bit more robust. So your girlfriend, wife is an artist as well, you said?
Yeah, Kayla Coffee Studios. Yeah,
Kayla Coffee, yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I literally just go to all my local stores. So I'm sure we are using similar materials most
Oh
likely.
yeah. No, I find myself just carrying a basket around behind her in Michael's while she just grabs Posca pens and paints and everything that she needs to get done.
Yep.
So yeah, she's in there doing her thing. Your boy B, he's in the house. He's asking, have you ever collaborated with other artists?
Yes, I would say the number one artist I've collabed with is Dakota over at Pour My Art Out Studio. He would make these awesome fluid art backgrounds. In fact, let me go get one.
Yeah, go grab it. I'll
Um,
hold it down for a little bit.
So
Yeah, awesome. I hope that this information is good for you guys. I feel as though when we have anybody that's on the show, I just for one, I am genuinely curious about, their life story and what they have going and what their plans are for the future, but I try to put myself in your guys' shoes as an artist, as somebody who wants to you want to take on the endeavor of creating and selling and creating the business aspect. So I want to thank everybody that's been joining us and that's sitting in the chat and asking these amazing questions. We appreciate you guys.
totally. This is so he makes these really trippy backgrounds that I paint over. And so it's hard to tell in this lighting, but this is like holographic colors. So if I get really close, it's like a muted rainbow. And
That's
we're
so cool.
yeah, so I've been like doing all these digital renders to try to figure out what formations look best on top. And I've done like 10 pieces with him now. He even flew out and we painted together in February. And this piece over here, which I'm not going to show because I'm releasing it in 2 days, was also a collab with him. So I love working with him, and it's like the way we work together is so awesome. So I think like once you find an artist that you work really well with, I mean, it just opens up two minds to be better than one.
Yeah. Do you plan to collaborate more in the future?
Yes, actually,
Yeah.
with Bobby Cruz, one of my homies, I would love to do some work with him. So we're
Shout
kind of
out
in the
Bobby.
works on that. Shout out Bobby.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, this is a technical question. Your boy B's asking here. He says, "Do you repeat the varnish then isolation coat process?"
Isolation coat is permanent, stays there, and then you could remove the varnish over time if needed.
Got it. Got it. Great question. Thank you, your boy B. And man, is your studio in your home there? Is your garage converted too?
It is, yeah, no cars are in there. I'll tell you that. They're
Yeah.
just roasting in the Arizona sun. My
Yeah.
garage is going to be a fun mess to clean up
Yeah.
if we ever end up selling this house. Just the scraping of the paint.
Yeah. Yeah, we've done the same thing, but that's what's beautiful about what we got going on here. We've got this like, interview style podcast studio, and this is like right in my dining room. And then we have a music studio over here, and then over here we have like a sit down podcast studio, and then in the garage is full fledged art studio. And we're just
Dang, that
having
sounds like a fun household, though. So many like creative avenues.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about is just trying new things, and we advocate for that all the time here. Like if you want to do something, go try your hand at it. And if you suck, then you'll learn. And it's okay. You're going to learn along the way. Let's see. Cool. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. And before we go, though, I want to talk about where your art is at now, how you would describe, I mean, we talked about the velocity, right? But how you would describe your art to somebody that was curious
Yeah.
and what your goals are in the future. Where are you going?
Yeah. If I'm talking to someone that knows nothing about my art, quick elevator pitch, I just do big abstract paintings, and I call them velocity paintings because I'm painting with extreme one-stroke movement and then designing worlds around that movement, and it's really surrealistic and 3D and colorful and contemporary. That's like what I say.
That's very cool.
But when I talk to someone who like wants to know more and like dive deep into it, I tell them that I am trying to use physics to my advantage to try to express paint in ways that have never been done before. I'm
Mhm.
trying to um, create like almost like use I'm trying just with dropping paint and these crazy spiral formations that form mid-air and the way that you strike the canvas with certain power and like just making it in one stroke. It's like a part of my body, part of my style. It's like everyone has that in them. They're able to do this too. And so making these videos, making like these magic tricks of showing that into a big reveal, I feel like I'm just like in this own creative world that I've made and I'm just showing people. And it's so fun and cool. And that's just what I'm doing. That's my art.
It's epic. Nick Bultman, come on. That's awesome, brother. So tell me now that we've understood where you came from, how this whole thing blossomed, and how you watered the seed over time, the business aspect of things, social media. I mean, for anybody that's tuning in late, go watch this back. There's so many gems that you're dropping, and I really just want to say thank you for sharing so much with me and our audience today. But I want to talk about where you're going. What do you got in the future? What's on the horizon for Nick?
Yeah, great question. I have a few like five really cool things happening in the next month, actually. Um, and then which I'll touch on all of that actually.
Yeah, let's hit it.
Number one, I'm gonna be on a whiskey label for like a limited edition whiskey brand up in NorCal.
Let me give you one of these. Hold on. Yes, sir.
Number two, I am collabing with a guy who is going to be making these really expensive, high quality, custom knitted, like jackets and pants that have like flanges on them and they're really warm, comfy, and they like sell them at music festivals. And so I gave him some artwork files and he's making those. And I can't wait to see how that comes out. That's happening in a few weeks.
Yes, love it. Love it.
The third one is I just got invited and solidified as one of the instructors for a the Fluid Art Experience in Dallas. So I'm going to be one of 8 instructors teaching a bunch of people in class all these techniques next year.
Wow. That's
So
incredible, man. Come
yeah,
on.
man.
Are
And
you
then
ready for that?
what's up?
Are you ready for that to instruct, you think?
I think I am. Yeah, I do. I like
Love it.
built out the whole syllabus. I got all the materials, thought through. I know the client base that's going to be there. It's going to be like it's less about like getting hyper technical and more just about like, hey, people want to pick my brain and be next to me as we're making simple gradients. I'm teaching them the ratios, the dustpan pours, and that'll just be fun.
Nice. I love it, man.
The fourth thing is I just got a whole documentary made like 2 weeks ago where they reached out to me. They have like Netflix style quality of interviews. They interviewed my collectors, my print shop. They got me in the studio finishing an entire piece in 3 days. And this guy is an artist in himself. Like he he was like, how can we get creative to get some sick shots here? I'm like, I've got a glass table. We can drop some paint on the table. And so he's got his like 50K camera looking up at paint drops coming down. And it was just like me and him collaborating on trying to get the sickest shots together. And it's going to be freaking epic. And
Epic.
that's going to come out in like a month and a half.
Dude, we can't wait.
Yeah.
We'll be there supporting, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be on Netflix, you said?
It's going to be on YouTube, but
Okay,
their
cool.
goal is to become on Netflix. So I got them early enough to where, you know, But he's just such a beast. Like his day job is like filming race cars, basically.
Nice.
So yeah,
That's
I'm really excited, dude. A lot of cool stuff happening. And big picture, I just want to keep making the best art that I can and sharing it online and doing stuff like this. And I'm trying to make things less. I'm still in my era of being a little selfish and like making things about me and my career, yada yada. But like, I want to get to the point where I'm making it about we and like, helping artists and teaching people things that like could help expedite their business careers. And
mm,
I'm trying to get elevate a little bit. And
I
so I
love
hope
it,
this
man.
podcast feels like that for me a little bit.
Great. Well, you're doing just that for our audience here. And I couldn't go on without bringing up this question by your boy B. This is a great question. Any marketing tips you can share?
Yeah. Um, well, I think of like marketing as perception. And so, I think of the experience that you want to give somebody when they interact with your brand. That's what I
Mm,
think marketing should all be around. So when I design my Instagram page, I structure every piece as a front view image of that piece so that when people show their friends, they like, oh shit, look at all that. That's so cool. Instead of just like messily throwing in a bunch of stuff in there, I try to keep a very tight thing so that the end user experience, the feeling they have when they see my page is, whoa, that's awesome. They
mm,
scroll to the side, they see how it's made. So it's a user experience layout. So just trying to think from the top down of how are people going to experience my brand
mm.
is really important for marketing. What I would suggest.
I love that. Great question. Great answer. The reverse engineering, putting yourself in the shoes of your customer, and yeah, having that aesthetic, having an amazing storefront, something that's exciting for somebody to visualize and see. And when they do visit it, it gives you just that. So you have done that. You have succeeded because myself and everybody that's here in the chat, people are excited about what you're doing, and it really is something special. And I just want to thank you again for coming on here and sharing wisdom with myself, with my audience, and I'm just really I'm excited to see what you have going on. I'm excited to hear about what's next. And I want to open the doors of people helping people to you. If you ever want to come on and talk about something, reach out. We're here. We're a hop, skip, and a jump away too. So if you ever want to do a face to face interview, we can set up wherever. If we want to do something live where you want to actually film what you got going on, I've got the camera gear, I've got the mics, I've got it all set up. So
Awesome, man. I appreciate the offer and thanks for the opportunity to do this. I really like what you got going on too. And I also heard there's the artist donation thing. I would love to donate a canvas if that's what you're involved in.
man, that would be amazing. Yes. Yeah, we have donations for Camp Asda, and at the end of September is going to be the end of chapter 2. We're going to be pulling together. We'll have one of a kind merch pieces, one of a kind pieces of art from Kayla Coffee, one of a kind pieces of art from your boy B, who is here asking questions with us today. And we're going to auction everything off. And our goal is to send some kids to camp and just allow them to be surrounded by other type 1 diabetics and not be alone. And hopefully, it does the same for them what it did for Amanda, and it turns the leaf into them being advocates for the same. So
Absolutely. Well, I think it's beautiful what you're doing, man. I'm happy to be a part of it.
beautiful. Well, thank you. And before we leave, Nick, is there anything that you'd like to leave with the people? Any words of wisdom? Just, yeah, anything at all that comes to you that you'd like to share with the audience?
I think I don't want to be preachy or anything. This is just kind of maybe
Preach.
big picture advice that's worked for me. I think that the way to change the world is to be our best selves.
Mm,
And it's really easy to get lost in wanting to fix everything around us. And I really truly believe that my life has been so much better when I just inwardly look at my patterns of behavior, how I'm affecting people, and the results that my life, the results have been a lot better when I have just looked inward instead of looked outward to solve problems. And so if there's any advice I can give big picture, it would probably be that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Thank you for that. Gosh. Thank you so much, man. And we'll talk more on the back end and see what we can do in the future. If there's anything that we can do for you, you let us know. And I'm just, I'm just happy to have you to be a part of the People Helping People family and taking the time. And you're out here inspiring people and doing what you're supposed to do in the world. So we appreciate you.
Yeah, you as well, bro. Until next time.
Until next time, we'll see you.
See ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, gosh, are you guys amped up like I am? I'm fired up. Nick, man, just an inspirational individual through and through. And just to hear how so many different walks of life, there's so many iterations to a human being. And without having these sit down conversations, you would see his art. You would see a few things here and there that he, allows people to step in to see. But to be able to sit down and have an unfiltered conversation with somebody and ask the questions that you would never ask somebody in passing is a beautiful thing. And so I just want to thank Nick for stepping on. And ladies and gentlemen, I didn't even plug Nick Bultman. Hold on one second. I can't believe I forgot to ask. Let me plug him real quick. Let's go ahead and put his Instagram up on the screen. And that's what we're doing. This is a live show. So sometimes things slip through the cracks. And that's the beauty of this whole thing, is that it's okay to not be perfect, And this will not be the last time that we have Nick on the show. I think that there's too much in common to not have something amazing that we're going to do in the future. Let's see, Nick Bultman _art and Bultman _art. Everybody, I'm going to put this comment up on the screen right here. There it is. Nick Bultman, ladies and gentlemen, amazing. Gosh, and as we touched on before, there's kids out there that are alone in the world, feeling helpless with type 1 diabetes. And I just want to be on the forefront of advocacy, right alongside with Amanda Cardenas and the beautiful circle that she's had in her life and she's built out because of this camp. So if you want to donate, down below there is a link to be able to donate. And it looks as though Tracy Ward wants to send a painting to, I am overwhelmed. I'm so stinking grateful that so many people are jumping on board to be a part of what we're doing. And this is just the beginning. So we're going to make a difference, and we are making a difference, and I am grateful. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to episode 8, chapter 2, People Helping People. I love you guys.
Yeah. What's everybody fighting for? Why can't people